All right. Well, if that wasn't the most ridiculous introduction that happens today, then I have not done my part. So, today we're here to talk about Futurist codebase, integrating the future today. That is like the worst title I can think of. It just sounds like super buzzwordy. But here we go. We're going to talk about it. So I work at this little company. Anyone ever heard of this one? No? Cool. It's pretty underground. You probably haven't heard of it. I work for this company called Microsoft. And I work on these two things, Node.js on Azure, and this other, again, little indie project we have called Visual Studio Code. How many of you are using Visual Studio Code? All right. How many of you are using Azure? Literally all of you? Just kidding. I expected that. Cool. So here's kind of what we're going to go over today. The theme of this is abstraction. Why do we have abstraction? Are things going to get more abstract? Are they going to be less abstract? Yeah, kind of like what's the future going on here. And then at the end, I have a special demo for you, something that literally has never been shown off before. Hopefully it works. Otherwise, it's going to be real embarrassing. So let's talk about abstraction. What is abstraction? Well, a lot of people like to complain about JavaScript because it has garbage collection, or that it's slow, or that it's inefficient, or that it's too abstract, right? Kind of drives me crazy. And I'm going to rant to you because you're here and you have to listen to me. So just by raise of hands, how many of you could design and manufacture a silicon chip by hand? I think I see two. Two hands? OK. So not many of us. I'm not putting my hand up. My hand's like way down, like I should touch the floor. OK? Well, let's move a little bit up the abstraction chain. How many of you can architect computer systems? Again, not many of you. Code in binary? Couple more. Code in assembly? Couple more. OK. Code in system levels, like C, Rust, C++. OK. Now we're about to like 10% of the audience. Scripting languages. How many of you can code in like JavaScript or Python or something like that, right? Do you kind of see my point here? It's kind of ridiculous to me to make the point of like, it's too abstract, or like it's not, it's dumb because everyone's just moving further and further up the abstraction pipeline, I guess, if you will. And so for someone to like say like, this is the proper amount of abstraction, I only code in assembly, and everything beyond that is dumb because it's it doesn't make any sense to me. And it kind of gets me to like, why is WordPress so popular? Like, I guarantee you there's at least someone in the audience right now telling a PHP joke, right? Because it's a tech conference and that stuff kind of happens. But I want to again point out why that's ridiculous. So why is WordPress so popular? It's definitely not the quality of the code. Like, no offense to the WordPress developers, well, maybe a little bit of offense to the WordPress developers, but it's not, in my opinion, the best architected system. It's still PHP 4-ish. So, but why it is popular is it allows people to iterate quickly. It allows people not familiar with code to do amazing things. And it's an approachable abstraction on a content management system, right? That's why WordPress is so popular. That's why it's a third of the internet is WordPress. So what do we have to learn from that, right? It's that useful abstractions, even if they're not the best code or the most popular, the most shiny, are still extremely useful to us, right? So that's my point too, is that we're going to continue going in this direction of being more and more abstract, right? Like if you go from the 70s when we were still, doing punch cards, or 60s or something like that, right? And then you come forward to the point where we're writing things in like compiled to JavaScript languages, right? We're abstract upon abstract upon abstract, right? And I think the direction is for things to get more abstract, right? Because the more abstract they are, the more accessible they're going to be to a wider audience, right? So this is kind of the point, is that the abstractions allow new patterns like functional programming. Functional programming was not possible in binary, right? You're not having, pure ones and zeros. Or maybe you are. I'd have to think about that. Anyway, Abstractions allow permanently solved problems to become permanently solved, like garbage collection, right? You don't have to worry about freeing up memory because an abstraction takes care of that for you. And then it allows new developers to enter the field. If we were still programming in binary and assembly, I probably wouldn't be a developer, right? I'd be doing something else, right? But then you move on and find people that are just WordPress developers. These abstractions allow them to enter the field, these people that would have never otherwise entered the field. And my point is that the future of programming belongs to everyone, not just the people in this room. So it falls to us, the people that can do it right now, to make these abstractions so that other people can join us and have these kind of programming superpowers, if you will. All right. So that brings me to my first point. The no-code revolution is democratizing the power of programming. So what is no-code? Well, you can see here on the right, I have this GIF that I took from KissFlow, which is a no-code provider. But I'm talking about things like Webflow, KissFlow, Microsoft Power Apps. There's a bunch more that I'm obviously missing. That it's kind of this idea that it's like drag and drop programming, right? So you just like take blocks of programming power and you just drag them into paste and then it suddenly works, right? So you give people building blocks and they give you back, constructed programs. Like we have Lego back there, right? It's kind of the same idea just with code. So my point is that you should ignore no code at your own risk, because if we, the JavaScript or the Python or the Ruby developers, says like, that's too abstract, that's ridiculous, those people aren't real programmers, we're kind of like those other people, right? We're kind of like the C programmers, like, nope, too abstract. You guys are ridiculous, right? And they're ridiculous to the assembly programmers, right? So that's my point, is like these people are real programmers, right? This is a real job. It's hard and you have to learn. And they can probably do things that we can't, right? They can go faster because these tools, if you're familiar with them, allow you to go very fast, right? That's why I don't make fun of Rails developers, right? I don't like Rails. I don't want to write any Rails ever again. But if you ask me and a Rails programmer to sit side by side and code something, they're going to finish first, right? Because they can use their tools in a way that I can't use mine. Mine's just going to be better. I'm just kidding. That's going to get me in trouble. Anyway. All right. The next thing, we'll talk about JavaScript, because I like JavaScript. So what's coming in ES 2019? What's coming in JavaScript? We're getting new abstractions into JavaScript. And I know people like to complain that JavaScript changes too fast and there's too much being added to the language. But again, it's the same thing. We're adding new abstractions to allow ourselves to go faster, to allow new people to enter the field because these things are easier to read. So here's actually what made it into ES 2019, if you're curious. Flatmap and which is not Smush, which some of you might get that joke. The rest of you, God bless you. Object from entries, that'll be a good one as well. Yeah, some good stuff. The one that I'm actually most excited about is indeed the Flatmap and Flat. And so I just gave you an example there. Let's see if I can show you. So you have these arrays right here, and they're nested arrays, right? And so if you call flat, like you see right there, it'll actually return to you this kind of flattened array. Now, this was not very hard to write in just normal, you could do it in a reduce, basically, right? But this is a way easier, right? You just like, I know I want this to be a flat array, so I'm going to do it that way. And then Flatmap is kind of the same thing, where I have like Golden State Warriors, and I want that to be one string, like you see down here. So like this, Golden State Warriors. So the way that I do that is I do a Flatmap, and so I give it a map function, just like normal map. I'm saying join, so it's going to call that on the interior ones, and then it's going to flatten the result so that you don't have arrays of arrays, right? So this is available today. I actually just tested it in Firefox, and everything works OK. So those are the ones I'm most excited about. But again, those are all the new abstractions, all the newest language features that we've gotten in ES 2019. All right. Frameworks. These are obviously abstractions that we work with on the day-to-day. So how long are React, Angular, and Vue going to be around? Anyone know? I don't know. Like, these things come and go. I'm actually surprised that like React and Angular in particular have stuck around for as long as they have, right? Because it feels like those have been churning for a while. So I don't really know how long these things are actually going to stay around. These are more transient abstractions, in my opinion. So they're in vogue right now, but they're not going to be here forever, right? Otherwise, jQuery would still be around, or Prototype, or something like that. However, I can tell you what I think is coming. And I don't know if this is going to be like React and Angular and Vue adopting these patterns, or if it's going to be new frameworks that are going to be built for these patterns. But the first one is PRPL, and this is a term from Google, which I don't know if I'm supposed to endorse Google on stage. Might cost me my job, but it's a good pattern, so I'm going to. Okay, so PRPL, purple, push, render, precache, and lazy load. It's kind of a way to do PWAs, progressive web apps, that allow you to basically have a very small initial page load and then get all of the additional files once that has happened, right? So you can imagine maybe like Netflix, right? So Netflix sites load, you can see the husk of the application, and then it's going to go prefetch all the data in the background, so everything feels very fast, right? So go check that out. I think you can just Google PRPL and you'll see their blog post from Adi Asmani. I think that's going to be the next big thing. And I think HTTP 2 and HTTP 3 are going to be affecting us more and more. Because HTTP 2 is now in every browser, I think, since 2015, which means about now is when we should start relying on browsers to have HTTP 2, which means that things like concatenating files is actually an anti-pattern now, right? And minifying files might be an anti-pattern, right? Because HTTP 2 actually adds things like multiplexing requests, long-running HTTP pushes, better compression, all those kind of things. HTTP 3 is only in Chrome Canary and soon in Firefox Nightly, and allows for more efficient streaming of data, handles packet loss much better, and so that's just going to make things a lot faster as well. All right. Serverless. I think this is going to be a bigger thing going forward, particularly for a crowd like this that has a lot of you have like a front-end focus. So this allows you to ship more functionality with less code. So serverless, for those who are not familiar, yes, there is a server, but you worry less about the server. I think that's the definition we're going with, because everyone, like, there's always someone that raises their hands like, there's a server there. It's like, yeah, I know that, right? You don't have to tell me that. I understand that a server serves a request. Anyway, so actually, let's just jump to this next one. So we're going to go all the way from bare metal to serverless. So a bare metal is like you own your own servers. Here's all the things that you have to worry about when you have a bare metal server. You have to worry about data centers, hardwares, operating system, runtimes, scaling to your traffic, server logic, and business logic, right? You have to worry about everything. You have to worry about the temperature of the data center. You have to worry about what hardware you own, right? But you get ultimate flexibility, right? You can have whatever hardware you want. You can change it whenever you want. You own all of your own, you own your destiny, but you also own all of the problems. I don't know, like as a front-end developer, like I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to worry about what temperature there, or what, you know, the physical security of my data center is, right? So that's when infrastructure as a service is really nice. This is things like EC2 or Azure VMs or something like that, right? This allows me to not have to worry about data centers and hardware, but I still have to update the operating system. I still have to deal with the runtimes, like what version of Node I'm on, how many VMs I have, right? Those things. It's still not fun, right? I still don't want to do that. So then you enter platform as a service territory. This is things like EBS, Elastic Beanstalk. Is that what it means? No one cares about AWS anyway, so it doesn't matter. Just kidding. That would be like Azure App Service or Google App Engine. And this allows you to kind of skip operating systems. You get to not worry about what runtime. And this will scale for you, right? So if you start getting a lot more traffic, they're going to start scaling out your app for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But you still have to worry about like what version of my framework I'm on. You have to worry about like handling requests and sending out requests. Like it's still, you're solving solved problems, right? And in this theme of abstraction, right, we want to not deal with solved problems. We want to just worry about business logic. And that's where something like serverless comes into play, right? I don't actually worry about dealing with requests. I don't worry about scaling out. I just worry that when this event happens, when someone calls this API endpoint, or when this database gets written to, then do this, right? you worry about just the business logic and that everything else is taken care of. So that's what serverless is. So my pitch to you here is just go try it out if you haven't. All of them are really easy to get started with: Lambda, Azure Functions, or Cloud Functions. There is one you should obviously try over the other ones. Hopefully that's obvious to you. If it's not obvious to you, I can emphasize that a little bit more. Obviously, I like Azure Functions. All right. Containers. Not as scary as you might think. How many of you feel comfortable working in Docker? Just raise the hands. How many of you think Docker sounds scary? Some of you are lying. I appreciate your honesty, right? So I used to be scared of containers because I kind of conflated Kubernetes and Docker. Docker is not scary. Kubernetes, very scary, okay? So I just want everyone to be aware that Kubernetes and Docker are not the same thing. One is very useful to you as a front-end developer, and one is just this like sprawling behemoth that will consume all of your time and your soul, actually. So Docker is not scary, though. So the future is contained, and I'm very convinced of this, that this is going to become more and more important to you as front-end developers because it has abstracted away dealing with VMs and a bunch of stuff that was really messy about working with infrastructure, and now it's actually approachable to everyone. So that's another invitation for you from this talk is like, go play around with containers. Because I think our development environments are going to become contained. I think all of our servers are going to become contained. I think this is going to be a very important abstraction to all of us. If you develop in containers, that means your environment can exist anywhere. It opens the possibility of like developing on thin clients. So it's actually possible today to just pull out your phone, connect your phone to a laptop, or so to a keyboard, and start developing with a remote environment. That's totally possible today, and I think that's going to become even more popular as we go forward. And then once your app is perfected, you can just containerize it and ship it off to production, right? So instead of having to have like a whole ops team around you, you get to just operate independently, which I think is really cool. So just to call out that last line, every JavaScript developer will have to use containers in the future. That is my prediction for you. All right. Coding in the clouds. So this is going to be my demo, and hopefully it works. This is pre-release software, and again, I think this is the first time this has ever been shown. So wish me luck, I guess. All right. Today, you are going to get a sneak peek at Visual Studio Online. Now, this has been announced. So Visual Studio Online is Visual Studio Code in the browser. And it's actually going to be spinning up a whole development environment for you so that all you have to do is point it at a repo, and we'll spin up an entire environment for you to begin working right away. Okay? So right now, I don't have any environments. I'm going to say create environment. And just to show you the app that I'm going to be working with, GitHub, BT Holt. Oh, damn it. All right, hold on. This is also my first presentation on a Windows laptop. I probably should admit that. Let's see. Mirror. Display, system display. Nope. Only show on. Nope. Duplicate these displays. Here we go. Woo! Windows. All right. So, Visual Studio Online. I'm going to show you first the repo that we're going to be working with. This is just in another fine Microsoft product, GitHub. Woo! All right. So it is literally just like the simplest happy.js app, like require happy, and then start the server. Very complicated stuff. Okay, so I'm going to come in here to Visual Studio Online, and I'm going to say this is going to be called reactive demo. And we're going to say point this at BT Holt /node-example app, the one that I was just showing you. And we're going to do a premium environment because I don't have to pay for it. And we'll say, once I'm done using it, it'll wait 30 minutes before spinning it down. But you can say, do it after 5 minutes, or never spin it down, whatever you want to do. I'm going to say 30 minutes. You can also have it pull in dot files, right? So if you have like a very particular bash setup that you want to have on every cloud environment, you just put up another GitHub repo with your dot files, and it'll automatically do that for you. I am not picky, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to click Create. And it failed to create. All right, let's try one more time. Maybe. This is, again, under very active development. So there's like a 50-50 chance that this just is not going to work at all. If not, I got some other cool tricks. Example app, premium environment, create. OK, that looks like it's creating. That's the hope. So it's going to read my repo. It's going to see that it has a package.json. It's going to say, oh, OK, you're going to want node 10 probably. It's going to run npm install for me. And then it's going to dump me into that shell whenever it finishes provisioning the container behind the scenes. Now, this actually will work with VSCode directly. So you can just say, hey, VSCode, connect to this cloud environment. And you get to use your normal stock VSCode installation, which is pretty cool, right? So you can connect to like a 64-core mega VM and just like crush some Rust compilation or something like that. I don't know. I'm not going to do that. I'm just actually going to do it directly in the browser. So I'm going to click on this BT Holt right there. Please work, damn it. That doesn't look like it's working. Oh, no, Holt, it's working. So again, you can see this is just running in Firefox, right? I didn't do anything else beside this. And you can see it's starting. You can see all the file that it's cloned. It assumes that you want to look at the index.js, so it pulls that up for you. OK, looks like it's already installed all my node modules for me. And let's just go ahead and start it and see if it works. So I'm going to click breakpoint right there. I'm going to say, I would want to debug this. It's going to ask me, it's like, hey, I don't think you actually have anything running here, but it figures out that you probably want to start Node.js. And so you can see there, it's come here, and I'm debugging. So I can go and do step over. And you can see it's stepping over my code right there. Now, let's click play here. It looks like everything has started up just fine. And so it's actually now running this on the server. This wasn't working earlier. So let's see if it's, no, OK. So they actually broke this part. But in theory, what you should see is the ability to connect to the server and hit its local host, right? So I can actually do live debugging directly from the browser, right? Which is crazy. But, so this is coming. Yeah, thank you. This is coming, obviously under very active development. We're hoping that you'll be able to sign up for private preview starting soon. Soon, TM, right? I don't know exactly when that is. But I will get you all a head start. Because you came and saw me here at ReactiveConf, if you go to here, this aka.ms/vsfutures-sign-up, you can sign up for it, and you will get first access to Visual Studio Online. Now, it's not quite a free service, right? You have to pay for the VMs, but it's going to be affordable. We'll put it that way. We haven't settled on how we're going to price it yet. So yeah, that was Visual Studio Online. That was the first peek at it. Hopefully, you're excited about it as I am. And with that, I think we'll take some questions.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. You know, I must say that as a knight who swears fealty to Lord Clippy of House Microsoft, you made lots of jokes on behalf of Microsoft today.
I did. It's my job.
Anyway, we have a question for you. What do you think about Gatsby.js and PRPL?
Well, Kyle's in the audience, so I think he's going to kill me if I talk shit on Gatsby. No, I actually really like Gatsby. I develop all of my personal courses and all that kind of stuff. I all use Gatsby. So I'm a big fan of their project. I'm a big fan of everything that they're doing over there. In particular with PRPL, they have been kind of blazing the path on that by kind of just making it like the sane defaults of Gatsby so that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to know what PRPL is. It just kind of starts working for you. So big props to the Gatsby team.
Great. What is the good and bad scenario for going serverless?
The good, so let's talk bad first. The bad thing is that if you do everything yourself and don't do any serverless, you have all of the control, right? You're not vendor locked in, and it is cheaper. Like if you compare it like side by side, it will be cheaper to run your own apps rather than going serverless. But the thing that people they neglect to think about is you're not paying for anyone to manage your infrastructure. You're not paying for anyone to like sit there and worry about architecture and how to scale out and how to do bindings to all these various different services. So where you save money actually with serverless is with human time, right? Because I'm always of the opinion that human time is worth more money than computer time. So the good is that it scales instantly for you. It can be cost effective if you look at it in terms of human cost. And yeah, it can scale infinitely large.
And last question, or actually we have two more and we do have time for that, which is great. What is the good and best, wait, we just said that? If contained ENVs are the future, how management of contained microservices will be? Kubernetes is scary.
If contained environments are the future.
I just love you have to read that. I don't blame you. You know,
no, it's cool. English is hard. So I'm of the opinion, I'm going to just answer my own question that I'm going to invent from this.
Yeah, sure.
So Kubernetes is scary just because it handles a lot of things for you, and it's a very complicated thing to handle a very difficult problem. I think that there are going to be cloud provider managed container services, something like App Service or again something like EBS, where you just put containers into it, and then it just kind of handles the scaling independently. Those are often easier to use than Kubernetes. Kubernetes allows you more flexibility, and you can lean into that. But you need a Kubernetes expert on staff to be able to handle that. So, yeah, I stand by my statement that Kubernetes is scary.
Are their NVS online shareable?
Yes. Yeah. So you can share the configuration. You can share the environment. Yeah, so it's shareable in all the ways that you want it to be shareable.
And you demoed with Firefox. Will you support Edge?
No, probably not. I don't think we like Edge. Where's Sean? I know you're here. That is Sean Larkin. Yes, obviously it will support Edge and Chrome and not old Edge. And not Internet Explorer.
All right, the really true last question for you right here is why should I code in the web browser?
You should not use the browser for your primary development tool. That's not actually really our purpose. Our purpose is more like, hey, I'm on vacation. I just have my phone. I'm going to plug in real quick and fix my production problem and then disconnect, right? We still want VSCode to be your primary destination for where you want to code, but it's just adding the ability to start coding from anywhere.
Great, thank you so much.
I do have stickers. If you want VSCode stickers, come mob me afterwards.
Yes, Sir Brian, I bow your knowledge. Thank you.